SynthStories starts right now.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to apologize to my sister-in-law who ruined my baby shower she hosted? My mother-in-law wants my husband and me to apologize to my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. Honestly, Satan-in-law is more accurate, so the holidays will be normal. I don't feel like I'm the one who should apologize, but I'd like outside opinions. Some background: my husband and I have been married 10 years. We never had a big wedding or reception. We were traveling for work at the time and just eloped in Paris. After years of trying, we're finally expecting our first child. My husband has one brother who's been married for 15 plus years. They chose not to have kids. We told brother-in-law and sister-in-law about the pregnancy before our Facebook announcement. Sister-in-law seemed excited and offered to host the baby shower at her home. I was hesitant because she has a very strong personality, but I agreed to keep the peace. Fast forward to me being 6 months pregnant. No one has mentioned the shower. I reach out, sister-in-law says, "Yeah, I guess we should do invites." I send her the guest list and details. She never orders them. So I end up ordering and sending my own shower invites while pregnant for the shower she's hosting. Then sister-in-law says she wants a co-host to share costs. No problem. A close friend, Dana, who already wanted to host me a shower, agrees to co-host. I also bring in my best friend Rebecca, who does event planning, to help. The three of us plus my husband make an Excel sheet of tasks and email it to everyone, including sister-in-law, so everyone knows who's doing what. At this point I double-check she is still good with having it at her home, and she states she is. Communication turns into a nightmare because sister-in-law refuses group Facebook messages and Dana's phone can't handle big group texts. Dana and Rebecca both reach out to sister-in-law individually offering to help. Sister-in-law's only input is, "I'll serve nuts and crackers and we have to be out by 4 p.m. even though she had previously said we could stay as long as needed. Weekend of the shower, 2 of the 3 hosts have a game plan and food is purchased. The night before, Rebecca messages sister-in-law offering help and gets, "You can come clean my house and cook me dinner." They had never even met before and Rebecca had just driven 5 hours to be there. Day of, we're told no parking in the yard or street, only in the driveway. Okay, no problem. We can't even set up until 30 minutes before because sister-in-law had plans. When we arrive, she and an uninvited friend are putting up no parking signs and dancing around. Guests start arriving while we're still scrambling to set up. During the shower, sister-in-law stomps around, slams doors, plays on her phone, makes snide comments to her friend, disappears to the basement to blast metal music so loud the floor vibrates, and doesn't speak to any guests. The one time I try to talk to her, she rolls her eyes and says, "We'll discuss this later." I'm pregnant, stressed, and in tears. Brother-in-law later says sister-in-law is mad she wasn't included in planning even though she got the Excel sheet, texts, and calls from Dana and Rebecca. At 3:30 I'm still opening gifts. Sister-in-law starts texting my husband threatening to have everyone arrested and towed if we're not out by 4 p.m. Husband pushes back, but we still rush to finish and clean. Mother-in-law asks for the vacuum to help. Sister-in-law says it's changing and can't be used. We obviously couldn't get the place perfect. Father-in-law even asks if he can stay to lock up while we finish. Sister-in-law says no. Glitter from the decorations ends up near an air vent and in a pile of her dirty laundry. It was minor, but she flips out. While we're loading cars, she storms out screaming, "Who stole my chair?" It had just been moved to the laundry room. As soon as we leave, she goes on a Facebook rant comparing the shower to a J6 insurrection, complaining about parking, glitter, spilled lemonade, which my husband cleaned, people moving items to make space, someone using her cookie sheet to warm up food, Rebecca's husband being present. She called him a piece of S*** behind his back. He's the godfather of our baby and an honorably discharged vet. And the chair for myself, mom to be, to sit in. Other things she was mad with and stated includes, decorations brought in, us bringing folding chairs, BC of her not having adequate seating for people, especially the older people with disabilities, because in her words, she doesn't give a crap where people are going to sit, BC they can stand up. She texted all 3 of us a long message calling us POS the next day. My husband responded to defend me since I was 7 months pregnant, which sister-in-law then used and posted on Facebook to say my POS sister-in-law can't even stand up for herself. Now mother-in-law is telling us to apologize to sister-in-law and brother-in-law so the holidays will be normal. I feel like we bent over backward and still got humiliated. Am I the a-hole for refusing to apologize?
Am I the a-hole for not picking up my ex's daughter from school when I picked up our son? Ex cheated on me when I was pregnant with our son, 8, and because of this, he has a daughter, 8, with his affair partner, now wife. We are not on good terms and I do not have a relationship with my ex's daughter. I have never spoken a word to her or spent any significant time in her presence. Ex and I split custody, 50-50, of our son. 2 weeks ago, I got a call from the school during his custody time stating nobody had picked our son up from school and asking if I would. When I got to the school, my ex's daughter was also there and the teacher was with her. She told me I was on the approved list for pickup for ex's daughter and would I take both kids. I said no, and I told her I did not want to be on the list as I would never pick the other child up from school. She told me she would pass the word along and it would be taken care of, and I had to call to follow up on this. My ex never told me he or his wife added me to the authorized pickup list for his daughter. When he realized I had not picked up his daughter with our son, he was furious. He asked me how I could leave her behind when I would have our son unplanned anyway. I told him via our parenting app that I picked up our son as I would always do if needed, but his daughter is not my child, and I will not be their emergency school pickup. According to him, my ex's daughter was there until 7 because I refused to pick her up with our son. She's a child, and I understand that's not ideal. I don't feel bad per se, but I wonder if I would be considered an asshole for being unwilling to do it this once? This is not something I want to be a regular thing, and it's the first time it ever happened. Ex's wife was apparently delayed out of town, and Ex was working. Am I the a-hole?
Husband, male 36, quit his finance job, refuses to get another job, and wants another kid. I'm, female 30, at my breaking point. Me, female 30, and my husband, male 36, have been together for 6 years. I've been a stay-at-home mom and housewife since the summer of 2023. I left my job after my husband encouraged me to quit because I was experiencing severe PCOS symptoms due to stress, along with the emotional toll of struggling to conceive. At the time, my husband was an investment banker. Once we started IVF, he decided to leave his job to work independently. Unfortunately, it hasn't been going well. He refuses to return to a traditional job because he doesn't want a boss and feels embarrassed about job hunting. He also doesn't want to live in major cities like New York or London again, which limits his options. It's been incredibly frustrating. We still have savings, but that's all we've been living on. Over time, he's downgraded my lifestyle to a point where I'm really uncomfortable. I haven't taken a proper vacation since 2023, and now, with our baby born in May, I'm growing increasingly upset that he's not actively trying to find stable work. We have a child to think about, a child who deserves to experience life, travel, and eventually participate in whatever activities she wants as she grows. What makes it worse is that he now wants us to start trying for a second baby next year. But how can I even consider that when he won't take responsibility and start looking for a real job? One of his reasons for not going back to work is that he thinks the finance industry is toxic and he's tired of it. On top of that, he's recently become very religious and insists that we live a normal and humble life. He even jokes about going into religious studies. His shift started after I got pregnant and became even more intense after our baby was born. I know this might sound gross, but I grew up in a very comfortable, even wealthy, environment, and so did he. The irony is, he still wants us to live between 2 different countries. We currently maintain 2 apartments in 2 different countries, and insists on staying in upscale neighborhoods. But with no income coming in, it's becoming a nightmare. I feel broke and out of place every time I step outside, and it's deeply unsettling. To give you an idea of how bad it's gotten, for my birthday last week, he gave me a sweater that he bought using a gift card his mom gave him last Christmas. That hurt more than I expected. We have a shared bank account, but my private account eventually ran out of money, so I sold a watch I inherited from my grandma, and I also sold other belongings just so I could have money on my account for emergencies. I feel stuck. I can't send my 4-month-old to daycare or kindergarten right now, and even if I wanted to return to work, I don't think they'd accept a baby that young here. I feel like I'm in limbo, unable to make changes, while watching our savings drain and our future feel more uncertain by the day.
Am I the a-hole for not answering the door when my ex's mom showed up at my apartment unannounced? This happened a couple of years ago, but I was talking about crazy mother-in-law stories with a friend, and she thinks I was an a-hole. I have sole custody of my children. My ex and his family live about a 9-hour drive from me. One day at around 9 a.m., there was knocking on my bedroom window. I peek through the bottom of the blinds and just see women's sneakers. So I peek higher and make eye contact with my ex's mom. All I can think is WTF? The apartments where I live are not gated, so anybody can drive onto the property, just not go in buildings without a key. Which means ex's mom couldn't knock on my door because she couldn't enter my building. Anyway, now that she's seen me, I change and go see why she's there. Only reason why she has my address is because a few months back she asked to mail some stuff for the kids, and I dumbly gave her my address. She tells me she was in the neighborhood. I asked her why she didn't call me before arriving, and she said it was a last-minute decision. I let her in, and she sees the kids for a bit. When she leaves, I tell her next time she needs to give me a heads up before arriving, and I'm not talking 10 minutes before. I need at least a 1-week notice. So, this is where I might be the AH. About 4 months later, she pulls the stunt again. When I hear the tapping on my window, I know exactly who it is. I don't bother looking out the window. She starts calling me. After the 5th call, I answer. She tells me to open up because she wants to see the kids. I'm like, what? I'm not even home. Why she didn't tell me she was coming? I'm 45 minutes away visiting my dad with the kids. She demands dad's address. I refuse to give it to her. I tell her I have no idea when I will be home. Yes, complete lie. Anyway, she doesn't believe me. She thinks I'm home. Again says it was a last-minute decision. I hang up on her. I'm getting texts from ex demanding I let his mom see the kids. I tell him what I told her, I'm not home. Imagine my surprise when I hear the police banging on my door a few minutes later. I don't answer. I get a call from a random number. The police officer. He is there to perform a wellness check because ex's mom hasn't heard from me in 3 days and she's extremely worried. Also, according to him, it is illegal not to answer the door when a police officer knocks. I tell him she is lying. I just spoke to her on the phone. She showed up unannounced. I made it clear to her not to do that, and I am out with family, and I don't need to come back just because she showed up unannounced. She is ex's mom, and I don't have to talk to her. After that phone call, I get a text from ex calling me an AH, and how hard would it have been to let his mom see the kids when she drove all the way there just to see them? I want to make it clear, I don't mind her visiting. I don't mind her being around my kids, but I can't stand her showing up unannounced and demanding to see my kids like that. It was like she was on a weird power trip.
Am I the a-hole for telling my brother not to buy a house with his wife? My brother, male 28, is married to my sister-in-law, female 38, for 6 years. They are planning to buy a house in the near future, and I do not think it's a good idea. My brother and his wife were co-workers along with our dad. Our parents are divorced. They all hit it off, and sister-in-law started dating my dad. They dated for a while. I'm not exactly sure how long, but it was enough time for my dad to introduce her to the rest of his kids. That was when my brother confessed to also being in love with her. Turns out she also liked my brother, and once this interest was shared between them, they started dating, while she was still dating my dad. This love triangle continued for a few months, up until she got pregnant. No, we do not know which one is the father, and there is no interest in finding out between all parties. My sister-in-law made it clear that depending on my father's reaction to her pregnancy, she would decide who to marry. My dad responded poorly, and she settled with my brother. When my niece/sister was born, sister-in-law did not notify my brother she was in labor. She purposely made him miss the birth. This devastated my brother. My brother always wanted to have more than one child. but sister-in-law decided to get a hysterectomy in order to qualify for plastic surgery. So my brother will be unable to have another child with her, if his current daughter is even his. Sister-in-law already has 2 other kids with 2 different men, so I understand if she is done having them, but communicating with my brother would have been nice. They have been saving up for a house for a while now, until recently. She decided to threaten my brother to no longer work if she doesn't get her plastic surgery done. My brother knew he is unable to take care of the whole family, including her 2 children from previous relationships, on just his income, so he obliged and took out a loan in order to pay for her plastic surgery. They just now paid off the loan, it had a very high interest rate, and have basically restarted saving up for a home. So not only does she have a past of infidelity, but she also had a clear history of bad financial decisions. I expressed my concerns to my brother and he did not like my argument. What I've said in this post and then some. Too long, didn't read. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother he shouldn't buy a house with his unfaithful and fiscally irresponsible partner? Edit. I did ask him if he wanted my opinion before giving him all my points, to which he said, yes, your opinion matters to me. I should have included this in original post, I apologize. Also clarification, I do not know how exactly she got a DR in MX to perform the hysterectomy. All I know is one of the major reasons she gave was anemia. This was because the plastic surgeon she went to consult with said she had anemia and isn't able to perform the plastic surgery due to it. Edit 2. I am well aware my family story sounds unbelievable as I myself have a hard time wrapping my head around it all. I will no longer respond to the hysterectomy questions. I do not know her full health history, I'm only repeating the same information and it's all getting garbled with my other replies. All I know is this was done in MX and there are DRS who are willing to perform the surgery, which she did have to look for. I do not know what else she said in order to meet the doctor's qualification in getting the procedure. I just know the plastic surgeon she consulted with told her that because of her anemia, due to extremely heavy menses, they can't do the surgery, so she went to the extreme and got a hysterectomy in order to deal with the anemia.
Am I the a-hole for not wanting to meet or get to know my birth family after they tracked me down and reached out? I, 29 male, was adopted as an infant by my parents. They already had my older brother who was 3 at the time. They adopted my sister 3 years after they adopted me. I was raised in a loving, happy home. We were all treated the same, and my brother, their bio son, was not favored or treated any different for being blood. None of us were lied to about the circumstances of our family. My parents were open about adopting my sister and me. They never tried to demonize our birth families either. They knew practically nothing about our birth families, but they still spoke of them kindly and compassionately. Maybe it's just in my nature, or maybe it's because I had such a good life, but I never wondered about my birth family. No part of me ever considered trying to find them or have a relationship. I was just happy as I am. My life is good. I have a wonderful wife, 2 great kids, amazing parents and siblings-in-law and grandparents. For me, there's nothing missing. That's why it took me a while to respond 6 months ago when I was contacted by people saying they were my birth parents, and it was confirmed true, telling me their story and wanting to connect with me. They broke up for 5 years after I was born, and then they got back together and had more kids, and only had an interest in me for the last 2. Before that, they never thought about me. Their kids wanted to know me. Their kids really wanted to know me. I have received more than 24 messages from their kids since my birth parents reached out. It took a while, 11 weeks or so, for me to reply and state I had a great life, but did not wish to connect with them, so please leave me be. Then I blocked the accounts and made my socials private. About 3 weeks later, I received an email telling me they did not think it was fair and that I should at least meet the kids. I didn't respond, and 2 months after the first email, I got another one stating they had family medical history they would share with me only if I agreed to meet them and let them spend some time getting to know me. This was followed up by an email from their children saying I should really consider why I don't want to meet my real family and why I'm so loyal to parents who bought me. Some info given to me by my birth family around my adoption for those who might need any extra info. My birth parents were 16 when I was born. They put me up for adoption via an agency, but did not meet or choose my parents. The choice was given to the woman at the agency who set it all up for them. They didn't leave any letter or family medical history to be passed on to me, and never collected a letter my parents wrote to them when they adopted me. They have zero interest in ever reading that letter. Their kids are all mostly adults and found out about me through other birth family members and not my birth parents. Their kids wanted to meet me as soon as they found out about me. They found me through some private investigator online, and I don't know how much contact info they have on me. They never mentioned his name, but I wish he had reached out to me first, so I could have said no, because now I have no idea what ways they could realistically reach me on. They don't know I'm married or have children, it seems. So that's a positive. My family supports my decision regardless of which way I decide, but I have had some backlash from some fellow adoptees I know who say they would love what's being offered to me, and they think it's selfish for me to deny them the chance to get to know me and to deny my kids' blood relatives. So this has made me ask if I'm wrong. I don't feel like I am when I ask myself the question, but I don't know. I can accept I never gave these people a chance, and it's because I don't feel I should have to. Am I the a-hole?
My ex got my parents in the divorce. I, 35 female, have been divorced from my ex-husband, 48 male, for 9 years. We have 2 children together, 13 female and 10 female. Big age gap, yes, and yes, I had my kids young. I had a bit of a difficult childhood. My father was very my way or the highway my entire child and adult life. I was a child competitive athlete with my father as my coach and not much time for anything else, including understanding how to function normally in society. When I became an adult, at 18, I just wanted to start a family and have my own life, probably because my childhood never felt like a childhood. I ran into the first and worst arms I could to achieve my very short-sighted goals as a late teenage girl. Lo and behold, I actually grew up over the years and did a whole lot of maturing, and obviously the 32-year-old I married had done all the maturing he was ever going to do. I went back to school, got a degree, and started working at a good job. We had our first child, and I decided to go back to school again for a better position. I was working full-time plus overtime, going to school, taking care of 1 and then 2 kids, house, cooking, cleaning, and doing everything else under the sun. Come to find out, my deadbeat of a husband was not only cheating, but he was dropping our children off at my parents' house, claiming he had to go to work early. I worked night shift, so they would be better to sleep there. He would drop them off and drive down the street to his girlfriend's house and stay with her. I realized one day when I came home from a 16-hour shift and the bed was still made, pillow shams and all. And we all know no man is ever putting shams back on the bed, and definitely not that man. I did a little digging into phone records, and it was absolutely glaring me in the face. I confront, he admits. Fast forward, we wind up divorced. I do my best to move on. He moved in with his girlfriend, and I struggled as a single mom, ultimately needing to rely on my parents again for help. Well, my dad sunk his claws into my children, and they also became child athletes. I did not want that life for them, but remember, I was pretty desperately in need of help, and in my head I rationalized it away. Years go by, I become a successful professional, the divorce pain fades, and my ex and I are actually friendly. We help each other out schedule-wise and had a more than cordial relationship for the sake of the kids. Over the years, I had also done my best to try and cool down the intense training my father imposed on my kids. My ex-husband was oblivious and just wanted free babysitting, so he would allow it all. Finally, I meet an amazing man who completes me. I move 45 minutes away and get married. Well, my ex-husband did not like that. He decided to take me to court and served me with papers the day before my wedding. My parents also did not like that I was moving so far away. I remind you, we are talking 45 minutes. Got very ugly after that. My parents got involved and basically sided with my ex-husband, who lived down the street, so they could have full access to them 24/7 for training purposes. I sat down with my husband and them at their kitchen table one day and flat out asked them if they were on my side or his, and they said, it would be better for us if the kids lived with him. That was an absolute gut punch. Obviously, my ex-husband did not win in court. Kids primarily stayed with me and things cooled down at least to a low simmer. I tried to forgive my parents, but I really just couldn't. They would still spend time with my ex-husband and even went on more than one vacation with him. I told my parents how much this was hurting me and asked them to just take a step back from him so we could work on our relationship. They refused and said they couldn't do that because he was family. A few years of therapy and more hurt feelings, and I eventually decided they didn't have a place in my life anymore. They see my daughters through my ex-husband, but my husband and I now have a child, and he does not see my parents at all. Am I the a-hole for not including them in my son's life?
Am I the jerk? My fiancé told me this is it, take it or leave it. So I gave him the ring back and told him to get out of my house. My fiancé Tom, 37 male, and I, 28 female, have been together 2 years. He moved into my house 6 months ago and proposed a month ago. I thought we were solid, but now I'm questioning everything. I inherited a fortune 3 years ago. It changed my life, but I live below my means. I work part-time as a teacher, travel, and have a non-profit in the works. I budget carefully so the money lasts. Only my dad and sister know the full amount. When Tom moved in, I paid everything except most groceries. He wanted us to eventually buy a bigger house together so his dad could move in. I said no to living with in-laws, but suggested maybe a separate unit someday. He pushed back but agreed we needed to discuss finances first. Tom earns $10K/month and has $100K saved. I have millions invested and about $40K/month income from it. When I told him, he was shocked. He said if I have so much, why not just buy the house and cover everything? I explained that just because I can doesn't mean I should. I proposed separate finances, a joint account for expenses, and splitting costs proportionally to income. I also told him I wanted a prenup. That's when things blew up. He argued we should be equal partners, meaning I buy the house in both our names even if he doesn't contribute. We fought about this for days. Eventually he gave me an ultimatum, final offer, you buy the house, we each own 50%, I'll sign the prenup, take it or leave it. I asked if that meant breaking up if I said no. He hesitated but said yes. So I left it. I took off the ring, told him it was over, and that he needed to move out. He backtracked, saying he didn't really want to end things, just wanted me to agree. He accused me of throwing away our relationship for money. I told him he threw it away by demanding I fund our life and give him half of assets I work to protect. Now I'm wondering if I sabotaged my relationship. I love him, but I don't think it's fair to bankroll a grown man or accept ultimatums about my own money. Am I the jerk? Edit. When we first started dating, he understandably questioned how I managed my lifestyle on a teaching salary. I explained that I had a small inheritance which allowed me to buy my house and have some savings to live on. I admit I may have been wrong to be vague, but at the time we were just starting to date and I wasn't comfortable sharing all the details yet. My house is nice, but nothing extravagant, and during our relationship we always split expenses 50-50, dates, trips, everything. When he moved in, I offered to keep covering the utilities, since I was already paying them, and he would handle groceries. Things were fine until after we got engaged. I pushed for us to discuss everything openly before marriage, and we agreed on most things. About his father moving in, this isn't something he wants right away, but he says eventually his dad would move in so he can take care of him. I adore his father, but I personally don't want to live with in-laws. His solution was that we should buy another house together, so he would feel like it's our home instead of him living in my house. I understood that perspective, but the new house would also have to be larger if his dad were to move in, which I'm not comfortable with. About finances, initially, when we discussed buying another house, the plan was to contribute together. But once we started looking at what we could afford, we had to lay our finances on the table. When he found out my net worth, everything shifted. He said that if we split 50-50, we couldn't afford a bigger house, and since I had the means, I should buy the house myself, but it would still be our house. I told him that whatever amount he contributes would equal his share of equity in the property. Maybe I was naive, but until this point, I never saw signs of him being a gold digger. He never pressured me to pay for things and always split expenses fairly. That's why this change has been such a shock. Right now, I'm locked in my bedroom, and I told him he can sleep in the guest room tonight but that he needs to move out tomorrow. We haven't spoken since. That's where things stand. Thank you all so much for the support and comments, it means a lot. And just to clarify, this is a throwaway account I created for privacy reasons. Update. Wow, this blew up. Thank you so much for all your comments and support. This morning I woke up and Tom had made breakfast and asked if we could talk. He said things got out of control last night and he wanted to explain his side. He told me he was upset that I had lied about my finances and felt like I didn't trust him. He said the money difference made him feel that I would always have more power in the relationship and that he might be vulnerable to financial abuse. He insisted that he wasn't interested in my money but wanted to feel that I would choose him over money. He admitted that he handled things badly and should never have reacted the way he did or given me an ultimatum. He said he felt lost and frustrated. The only thing he emphasized really matters to him is his father eventually moving in. They're very close, and he wants to take care of him as he gets older. He apologized, said he didn't want to lose me, and told me he was willing to accept my conditions. I apologized for not being upfront about my inheritance, but I also told him I wasn't sure I could continue the relationship. His reaction last night felt entitled and manipulative, and I'm afraid he was showing me who he really is. I told him I love him, but I'm worried money will always be an issue between us. If he's already pushing for a house before marriage, what else might he push for later? I explained that the only way I could even consider continuing is if he agreed to a bulletproof prenup stating that in case of divorce, he only leaves with what he contributed, nothing more. Agreeing to buy a house together, but his equity would reflect his contribution only. I also suggested options like a guest house for his father or a condo nearby, but not living directly with us. Creating a monthly budget where we both contribute proportionally to our incomes into a joint account for shared expenses, while keeping our separate accounts for personal money. Going to counseling together. He agreed to all of this. Still, I told him I don't know if I can trust him again and need time to think. He agreed to go stay in a hotel for a few days to give us both space. Right now, I honestly don't know what to do. Part of me sees his point and wonders if he just overreacted. But another part of me is afraid that if I ignore his behavior, I'll be setting myself up for bigger problems in the future. I would really appreciate your help in figuring out where to go from here. Update 2. Hi everyone, thank you so much for all the comments and support. I took some time away to think, talk to my sister, my therapist, and my lawyers, and I've made my decision. As much as I cared for Tom, I realized I can't marry someone I don't trust. What happened broke that trust, and I know it would always be in the back of my mind in our marriage. Every financial decision, I doubt him, and that's no way to build a future. A few days ago, I asked him over and told him my decision. He admitted he messed up and wanted to try couples counseling, but I told him we're broken up. I agreed to counseling only as a way to see if reconciliation is possible someday, but truthfully, I feel like I'm just delaying the inevitable. I had already packed his things, and he was hurt when he saw them. That was heartbreaking, honestly. I felt really bad, but I knew I had to stand firm. He left with his things and is getting a new place. This has been heartbreaking and draining, but I know it's the right choice. Thank you again for the advice and encouragement, it really helped me get here. For those who worried about me making him homeless, don't. He makes good money, and we live in a tourist city. Before moving in with me, he lived in hotels and short-term rentals for months. He hasn't paid rent here for 6 months. He'll be fine, he's not ending up on the streets.